Hey guys, I just wanted to make a really quick editing video to illustrate some of the points I was making in my email this morning. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was in the intro to my email, I talked about quality over quantity. So often when I'm looking at websites with newer photographers, I feel like there's a tendency to just throw up everything, all the photos you've taken on your website. And I get why you're doing this, but it's so important to remember that you're curating your website, and the whole point of it is to sell. It's not to prove that you've taken a lot of pictures. It's to show what kind of pictures you're offering people. So an easy way to do this is to choose 3 words that you feel embody the photos that you're taking, and make sure that each photo that you put on your website, at least 2 of those words describes that photo. So you don't have to do this, but I actually have my 3 words listed pretty close to the top of my website, and it's rich color, beautiful light, and genuine emotion. So these 3 things I'm always striving for when I'm taking my photos and editing my photos. The way I think of it, they're kind of like my compass words. And whenever I'm choosing photos to put on my website, I want them to illustrate at least all of these 3 words, and if it can't be all 3, then at least 2 of the words. Okay, so let's jump over and edit. So I use Bridge ACR, Bridge Adobe Camera Raw, and that is very similar to Lightroom, and then I pull in to Photoshop from there. So when you're watching me on Bridge, if you use Lightroom, then you'll recognize what I'm doing. And the sliders over here are set up very similar to Lightroom. So you should be able to follow along. So these are from a senior session that I shot last night. And I just pulled up 3 of them to illustrate some of the points that I was making in my email this morning. Okay, so we'll just go right in order. So another thing that I notice quite often in newer photographers' websites is there's not a consistent correct skin exposure. A lot of times they're underexposed or overexposed. So I want to show you how to avoid that. The first thing I look at when I pull in my photos is my histogram up here. And this is actually like a really well exposed photo. Like when that histogram is showing in the middle like that, like a perfect hill, it means that I have a good variety of shadows and highlights, and it's exposed well. But you can see that I'm climbing the wall over here on the highlight side, which means I'm blowing my highlights. And you can see, because I have my highlight clipping on, where that's happening up here in the red. So obviously, like an easy fix to that is just pull that down. And it immediately looks so much better. We retain some of the sky, and it gives more depth to the photo. And look at how it even made my histogram better. Now I don't have any clipped shadows, and I don't have any blown highlights, and I have an even healthier histogram that I'm looking at. The next thing I'm going to look at is her skin. And I wrote down on the email what your RGB numbers should be for good skin exposure. And the trick with this is to hover over a mid-tone on your skin. So not a highlight and not a low light, but something in the middle. And if you can see that I'm hovering right here, and if you look over here, right up here, it'll show me my RGB numbers. So if you reference your email, she has light skin tones. So I should find an area where the skin tones, the R is between 190 and 230, and we are safe there. The G is between 140 and 190, and we're safe there. And the B, which is blue, is between 120 and 160, and that is not looking good. And you can tell that she's like a little bit cool in this photo, so I can just notch up the warmth just a little bit and see if that helps. I can also look around on different areas and see if I can find the numbers. Let's see, 181, that's good. 142, that's barely good. 134 is good. So I'm satisfied with that. You can drive yourself crazy making these perfect, but if you like the way it looks and you find an area in the midtones where the numbers are coming up within those ranges, then that means you're good to go and your photo is properly exposed. Now, this is one of the first steps I take when I'm editing because I like to start my editing process with like a clean, technically healthy photo. If I edit and things change, that's okay, but at least I know I'm starting from the right place. Another trick that I wanted to show you on this photo, and I think it is number 3 on the email, is down here in the color mixer slider. If you go and click on saturation and then pull down your yellows a little bit, it makes your greens a lot prettier. Now I have to watch her hair tone because she has blonde hair, but it really gives you a truer green. This is especially important if your subject is standing on grass because the yellow in the grass creates a color cast on their skin. It bounces up and makes their skin look a little bit more yellow, not in a warm way, but in kind of making them look almost sickly. So it's really important. I feel like this is one of the first things I also do is just pull down my yellows. And I can even go back up and check and make sure that I'm still in a healthy range. Let's see, the greens. Yeah, it actually made it, I feel like, even a little bit better. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Another trick I like is, now I just clicked over here on luminance and I just push up the oranges just a little bit and it brings some light into her skin. Again, as I'm making these changes, I'm watching the histogram to make sure I'm not blowing my highlights or clipping my blacks. And I come back here and I can check my skin tones again. 166. That's a little bit high on the blues. I might need to make an adjustment for that. Oh, that'll get us there. That'll get us there. Okay. Oh, wait. The reds are not high enough. Let's see. So I'll probably pull this down just a little bit just to get us back to that healthy range on our RGB check. I'm looking 135. It's a little low. 150, 170. Hang on. Just like I said, this can like really drive you crazy checking these numbers sometimes. So I feel like if you get close, then just go with it. I might need to warm her up just a smidge. There we go. 160, 161, 191. Okay, that's close enough for me. Okay, so, okay, I'm going to leave her there for a minute and I'm going to go to a different photo. So this photo, okay, let me explain where I was. This photo, the sun is setting over here on this side, and so you can see she's highlighted on this side. In this next photo, I actually have her sitting in this grass, and it's a backlight. So obviously we're going to have the blown highlights in the sky. We can see it here. And we're going to pull that down, and we still, even like pulling the highlights down, still have a little bit of blown highlights. So bring this down even more. Now by doing that, I obviously underexpose her quite a bit. And this is the tricky thing about backlight. I do feel like it takes a little bit more in post-processing to get it right. So right over here, I come to, this is masking, like AI masking, and it's amazing. So I clicked on that, I click on subject, and it highlights her. And then I can just bring her up. Now that's like quite a stark difference, but I'll show you how I'm going to fix that in just a minute. So with this, let's look at her RGB numbers. And let's see, that's pretty low. Hold on. Can we find something? Might have to bring up the light on her even more. All right, 196, 171, 170. Okay, that's good. So obviously that looks like not good. So now what I'm going to do is create another mask. So just right here, click create. I'm going to click brush. And then, so now I have her correct, the sky correct, and no blown highlights. And now I'm creating a brush, and I'm going to increase my exposure and my shadows. And I'm going to make it bigger. And I'm just going to brush on around her to bring up the surrounding area. So it's not quite such a great contrast. It just looks more natural. So now by working on her and then working on the sky by bringing down my highlights and now working on the background, you can kind of get a really awesome image that's done correctly. Now I'm going to add another mask. I'm going to create another brush, and this time I'm going to bring my exposure down, make it real small, and just try and get the highlights in her hair cleaned up. I don't think it matters as much for like when you have just a few areas of blown highlights in the sky and things like that. It doesn't matter that much for like sharing online and stuff. When it does matter though is when they print the photo, because there's no data there and it doesn't print well. So if you offer a print credit or do anything with printing or know that your photos are planning on printing these, like it is important to go through and make sure there's not blown highlights or clipped blacks. Okay, and then this one is super yellow. And so this is a direct light. Now they're in this side of the field, and this is her mom. And I just don't like how yellow this is. So I'm going to immediately, before I do anything else, just bring down the temperature and increase the light a little bit and see where that puts us with skin tones. So now we're at 226 with her, 182, and 153, which is all within the range. Now Allie has a very different skin color, but we're still in the good red zone, in the good green zone, and the good, oh wait, the blues are not good with her. So let's see. Let me play around with this. We need to get up to, 120. There we go. 155. And 219. Okay, so we're good. We're good with both of them. And of course I could go down here. This is a great area that I definitely want to desaturate a little bit with the yellows, maybe pump a little bit of light into their skin. Good. Okay, so I'm going to open these 3 photos. Now I'm going into Photoshop, and I just want to show you what I would do next. Okay, so the next thing I do with my photos is crop and straighten. Now this one I wanted to illustrate the cropping. So this is above their knees, which is perfect. Like you wouldn't want to crop at the knees. I'm even going to go just a teeny bit higher and center them. And I love that crop. And then I am a big believer in removing distractions. So I'm just going to get my healing brush right here and click on that. And then that's just less distracting. I love how the sky is retained in this one. It's just beautiful. Okay. This one is still showing sort of an extreme difference between her and the background. And I'm going to show you what I want to do with that in just a minute. Ideally, I would have maybe gotten her full boots in, but I didn't, and it's okay. So I'm just going to look at my crop. I want her head right on the rule, her forehead, like right about the rule of thirds. It's not perfect. By doing that, I eliminated some of this distraction up in the sky. I don't like the way this looks. I talked about in the email having like a really clean frame, particularly around the edges. And I think by cleaning this up, it just makes a stronger photo. because we can't really tell what it is. It's not pretty. Whereas this one, it's in focus and we can tell what it is. But even so, I actually am going to get rid of it, these right here, because it just, to me, it feels distracting. So it just creates a cleaner edge around. Also, this is crazy, but the lens I was using is quite old, and sometimes it's not in as sharp a focus as I want it. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this plugin, but it's called Topaz Photo AI. And it just will sharpen your photos a little bit, or if they're slightly out of focus, helps bring them into focus. So I just add enhancements, I say sharpen, and just that little bit makes a big difference. And because this is also backlight, I am going to, denoise a little bit, because I tend to get a little bit of grain in backlit photos, I should say. So it just makes it just a little bit cleaner and nicer. Okay. And this one, okay. The other thing I wanted to show you is, well, I'm just going to show you. So I really like to use light to highlight my subjects. And I try to really think about this as I go through and edit. Like, I knew when I was taking this photo that they were going to be in direct light and that this was going to turn into an amazing black and white. And then with this one, I knew it would be backlight, and I knew that I would add, what is this? Okay, so this is like a sun ray that I can add in after the fact. And I actually think it's so much easier to do this than to play around with actually shooting in harsher blacklight. You can really get or add a lot of drama by using something like this. I can even like put it closer to her a little bit. So, or more in the sky. I think I like that better. Just adds a little something to the photo. I'm actually probably going to do that on this side too. And then make it bigger. And it just really adds, and you can reduce the opacity or make it stronger, whatever you want to do. So adding these sun, like, oh, what are they called? I don't know, sun rays in post-production is super fun, and I really like to do it. And I think it makes a huge difference in the photos and illuminating the subject. So that is just some of the stuff I wanted to go over with you. And I think that's it. Yeah, feel free to reach out with any questions. Just so you know, this wouldn't be my final edit. I run just a couple of actions on the photos after this. Actually, I would do it before and then add the sun rays at the very end. And then I always do a black and white conversion actually for all of my photos. So let's see, I usually do this action. And the actions I use are from Greater Than Gatsby, I think is what it's called. And I just love her actions. I actually just got them this year, and I think they're fantastic. So I was looking for the flatten. Okay, I was just going to show you this in a black and white. I love direct light, black and whites. So good. Okay, so that's it. And I hope you found this helpful, and reach out with any questions. Thanks so much.